Everybody, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. We just thought we'd spend a little time talking with the DA for Lafourche Parish, and that's the District Attorney, Ms. Kristine Russell. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Just off to a running start, you said you have been busy with courts and catching up from all the things we've talked about the last 3 years, but you guys have been real busy. But we're here to talk a little bit about maybe some celebrations that are coming up, that a program y'all been working for, well, almost 20 years now, that kind of deals with high school seniors and what should be the greatest time of your life, right? It's celebrations and all that kind of stuff, but you just don't want it to have a tragic kind of ending, right? So you guys kind of get together with seniors each year?
Every year since 2004, former District Attorney Cam Morvant and Assistant District Attorney Lisa Ogeron came up with this amazing program called the Domino. And we go in, and we want to do this time of year, every year, when they are thinking about, all their parties they're going to have, as they should, and their celebrations. And it's a time for us to go in and talk about consequences. And so over the years, we have, other than when we had COVID and Ida and could not go in, we've been there every single year to our 4 high schools in Lafourche. And it is a very, very powerful program. It talks about not only the legal ramifications, and we'll certainly go through with them those consequences if you go to court, or something like if you get a CDL, you can lose your job because of that driving while impaired. So we'll certainly go through those consequences. But then we really get into the other consequences, which are much more serious.
Sure. That
you can lose your life, or certainly you can take the life of someone else. And so we cover all of that with him. I speak, an assistant may speak if I cannot go, and then we have a parent who has lost a child tell their story. And that's always extremely powerful. When they tell their story.
Yeah, I mean, almost a scare straight, right? But in that way, obviously, it's being real with them, right? These are now young adults, so you're talking to them on a one-to-one basis. You're not talking down to them trying to scare anybody, right?
Absolutely.
And so life is about making these choices and the consequences of those choices, and I'm sure it's a great message as they become young adults to I need to think about this more than just, hey, I'm going crazy until I go to college.
Absolutely. And listen, this is so preventable. This is preventable. And, I think when you sit and you listen to a parent tell their story about losing their child, it's very emotional. The kids are so respectful and they listen. It makes it personal at that point for them. And so we can go through all the consequences and go through what happens in court, and they'll listen. But when they see that parent struggle to get through that conversation and tell them, I watch their faces, and there's usually a lot of children who get extremely emotional. And we want to make sure that's impactful for them, and I think the program is very impactful. They came up with the word domino because there's these very large dominoes that they bring to the presentation, and they're behind us when we talk. And each domino has the name of law enforcement. It'll have, family. It'll have the district attorney's office. And it's to tell them that those dominoes can remain standing, and those entities may never have anything to do with each other. But once you hit one of them, as soon as that first domino gets hit and you get pulled over for driving while impaired, they all fall. Right. And so when they fall, again, that makes that loud, thunderous sound. And then when they leave, we give them this domino for their keychain. And I have it on mine. I just took it off my key ring. And when they go to grab their keys, they're at a bar, they're at a party, and you see that domino, remember at that moment that you have a decision to make.
Yeah, I've had children, that are in that age. Obviously, they're a little older now, but they've since 2004. What have you seen change the most? Because look, we moving at lightning speed now, right? That a problem. The internet was just starting, right, in 2004 when you guys started this program. Now texting, now whatever else you're doing live when you're doing. What have you seen change over the last 20 years?
Well, I certainly could tell you distracted driving with telephones and car phones. That, of course, we see an increase in that. And distracted driving is huge. The amount of cases that I'll review traffic offenses, rear-ending, and they say, I'll look down at my phone. We have so many of those that come in. And I think all of us at some point are probably guilty of looking at that phone at some point. And so we certainly want to talk to them about that decision, because you look down, and there's a video that we show a guy look down at his phone, he ends up hitting a guy on a bike. And it could happen so quickly. We certainly have seen that. But I do think this generation's a little bit different. And I certainly think because of the conversations we've had about DDs, designated drivers, I think they utilize them more than probably my
think so.
generation does.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
conversation they have seems to be an easy conversation of who's our designated driver tonight. And so I find this generation, this younger generation, does a better job than my generation when it comes to preparing to go out and having that designated driver.
No, I absolutely agree, and I think it is something that's been in their DNA the whole time. But there's also other distractions, right? So it seems
Absolutely.
like we've, you put
We've
a finger in
replaced.
one hole and then there's another one that pops up. So no, this is a great way, and like I said, I think it's probably a program that keeps evolving, right, to whatever the problem is. So.
And I think we've added speakers and we've added a few things as we've gone along. I think the root of the program will always stay the same, and the format will always stay the same because it works. And we tell them that as a district attorney, as a prosecutor, the last thing we ever want to see is one of them walk into court because they've taken the life of someone else. And because good people make poor choices. And we try to explain to them, this is not someone who wakes up one day and decides, I want to kill someone.
Right.
They just happen to make a choice that's a poor choice at that time, but the consequences will change everybody's lives forever.
Oh, you're right, and no, that's a great metaphor, the domino, because it
Absolutely.
does. It can change lives like that, and every little decision you make could ripple the rest of your life. So it's a big part of it. So no, it's a great metaphor, and it's a great time of the year.
Really kind of been taking a look at the DWIs in our office. I think everybody knows a driving while impaired first offense as well as a second offense. Those are misdemeanors. And so usually when you go to court on those misdemeanors, you'll have a fine, some unsupervised probation, maybe an alcohol information school. And so there's some general conditions that you get. You really don't get mandatory treatment until you really get to your felonies, your third, and God forbid, your fourth and subsequent. And so, over the past couple of months in our monthly assistant district attorneys meetings, we've talked about how we could maybe make a change in our office with that. And so we've sort of added a condition on our DWI seconds to require some type of treatment at a misdemeanor level. And that may mean go and get assessed at Start Corporation or some of the other agencies in our area, and have them go and meet with someone to see what the underlying issue is. We started that a few months ago. We want to continue to do that to see if that has any effect or any change as far as recidivism, or whether or not that'll have effect on folks maybe not reoffending. And so we really have sort of embraced that. I truly believe that if we can get to the underlying issue of how someone got to a second and start treating it then maybe we won't get to that third.
Yeah, when I was playing baseball with the Cardinals, we had a guy, Daryl Porter, who checked into a treatment center, and so they decided, hey, everybody's going to get it, and we're going to all talk about substance abuse. That's what they always said. One DUI could be a mistake. Two starts to be that's like the sign, right? If you did it again, knowing better, and then obviously 3, 4, and 5. But yeah, starting at 2, you should. That's a real sign. So that's kind of where y'all at with that
We
too.
are.
I mean, a lot of times you can go, maybe we'll do a reckless op, and if you don't do one for 10 years, I don't know what the rules are, but that second one is almost a real warning sign.
I think if we look at it that way, and I think you said it wonderfully, I think if you look at it and say, well, if you get to that second, that first one did not scare you, and you got into a vehicle again and you drove impaired, there has to be something that's going on. Is it a mental health issue? Is it depression? Do you have an alcohol problem that really has not been addressed? And so if we at least have people face that at a second and look at what the underlying issue is, I'm hoping that's going to help that individual not get to the third. I mean, I screened most of our traffic offenses. We had 39 fatalities in Lafourche in 2022. Again, not all alcohol related. That's a very high number, 39. And for those that are alcohol related, and we can all have our feelings on, is it related to COVID? Is it related to mental health? All the things. It doesn't matter. We had 39 fatalities. We have to do something. We have to be proactive and make a difference. We kind of pulled some stats too. In all of our parishes, Lafourche ranks 13 in DWI arrest or citations. Terrebonne's 14. I don't like that ranking of 13 and 14. And so I think we need to do something. We're going to try that. Also, Representative McGee fought really hard in 2019 to get Uber and Lyft in this area. And we do. We have Uber and Lyft. I don't know how many people utilize our taxi services, our Ubers and our Lyft, but we have it now. And so I want to encourage people, now that we have it, is to use those services to get home.
Right.
And so we have taxi services, I know, in Terrebonne and Lafourche. We have to encourage people. 13 and 14 on the ranking is too high.
I have to ask, should it be higher or lower?
We don't want to be 13.
Is that an enforcement thing, or is it the number of people on the road?
I think a lot of it, I think we certainly have a lot of people on the roads. I think, and I don't know if it's the culture that we drink more.
So you think it should be lower? We shouldn't have that many people being arrested.
Absolutely
I
not.
got you. Okay.
Absolutely not. I don't think at all.
Right.
I think we need to ensure that our highways are safer for our children and for ourselves.
I got you.
And so I think now that we have the service, before we used to say, other than taxis, we have no way to get home, other than calling someone. Now that we have those services, that's not an excuse anymore. You need to utilize it. When you look at the numbers in general, 52% of that is going to be 18 to 24-year-olds that are driving impaired. 84% are male.
Right.
And most of them have a blood alcohol of 0.10 to 0.2, at least half do. And so those stats alone tell us that in our area, we have to address the problem. So in our office, we're going to be proactive. We're going to look at maybe getting some assessment for needs at a second. We're certainly going to do that. We're going to encourage people, again, as much as we can educate on services to use to get home. We know people are going to drink. We're a college town. We know there are bars, and the children are going to drink. But we need to find ways to make sure that it's automatic that they call someone to get home.
Yeah, and when you talk about, high 30s, almost 40 fatalities in one parish, part of it, obviously, we have dangerous roads too. We don't have all interstates. We have bayous, we have water alongside the roads. We have, 2-lane highways. So it's even more important that we don't start the process of driving impaired when you
We
start.
do. We have dangerous highways, and we do. It's hard to drive them totally sober.
Right.
But knowing that means that we have to be very proactive.
Even more,
and I just, growing up, there were not as many vehicles on the road. The population in our parishes were not what they are today. We're growing, we're booming. We just talked about, off the air, just about Terrebonne and how much it's growing. Because of that, because there are more people, then we have to take steps to make sure our people are safe.
Right. And, again, distracted driving, we all have a cell phone. But on the good side, we all have a cell phone. Call somebody.
Absolutely.
Right? There's no excuse not to. You don't have to go find a pay phone on the side of the road.
There truly are no excuses anymore of getting home if you're impaired. Call someone, call the taxi service, call the Uber, do the designated driver. There are no excuses, and we say over and over and over again, it's preventable.
Right. And parents will come pick you up. So,
Absolutely.
Kristine, thanks so much.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it. We'll be right back with more Bite Time after this.